Inspiration for Teachers podcast, bringing you dynamic and inspirational educator interviews. Our fascinating guests share their professional challenges and creative resolutions for success. Discover their workable strategies, ideas, and resources to reach your educational goals. And now your host, Kelly Long.
Hello and welcome to this week's Inspiration for Teachers podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Long, and we have a very exciting episode lined up for you today. Our guest, Sam Bamford, will be discussing how to make the transition from middle leader into senior leadership. If you are an aspiring teacher, deputy head of department, or head of department, Sam has some invaluable advice to share with you today. But first of all, let's welcome today's guest, Sam Bamford. Hello and welcome, Sam.
Hello.
Sam is a Business Studies and ICT Head of Department at a mixed 11 to 16 secondary school in Hampshire. She's also a mentor supporting new teachers into the profession and has recently been promoted to acting Assistant Head. First of all, congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you very much.
We can't wait for you to share your insights and career tips for making the transition. Before you do, I like to kick off the show with a little game of Random Question Generator. Okay, Sam, so your question is, how do we better support teachers in the classroom?
I think giving teachers time, planning, differentiation, looking at those individual students' needs in your classroom to make sure that they are all catered for and making those progress. So time, giving teachers time to plan brilliant, challenging, fun, exciting and relevant lessons will be the best way to support a teacher in the future.
Here on Inspiration for Teachers podcast, I like to open up the show with some positivity and find out from you what excites you right now about the teaching profession.
Well, being a teacher now for the last 12 years, I've seen lots of governmental changes. I'm hoping now the government is going to start listening to teachers and pupils concerning their education. Two previous approaches from Labour to the coalition have not worked, or they are completely different. We need to try and find a balance between the two. So I'm quite excited to see how, with the new election coming up next year, how education will, feature.
Personally, I like this next question as I think it helps to highlight some of the challenges faced in teaching and also offer up a few solutions. So, Sam, in your opinion, what aspects of teaching, large or small, would you most like to change and why?
Actually, accountability on who is responsible. The teacher, the learner, the parent, the school. I think there's a big focus on who is actually responsible for the child's education and results. The current emphasis is not practical or sustainable or a positive scenario for learners. Teachers do a phenomenal job in the classroom in getting to know their students, and the students have got so much stacked up against them at the moment. 10 years ago, that everyone could leave a school with 100% A to C. Now, I believe it's not possible. With governmental control over the grading system, under the current regime with the UMS points have shifted as well as boundaries, it's impossible to predict how, a student's going to achieve year on year. Instead, they want pupils to be above average, but that's not essentially possible to achieve unless we get rid of the S-curve. If a pupil achieves 75% in an exam, that should be a certain grade of a C, and the boundaries won't shift up and down according to national average. We need to change this so the rigorous, transparent system is developed that genuinely allows school teachers and parents, employers and pupils to obtain comparable results year on year. So, with the government constantly changing specifications in the goalposts, it's made the situation even worse. GCSE content is always changing, therefore GCSE results cannot be compared year on year. Same with modular to linear and also the use of controlled assessment. I just feel that we need to stop change and let us grow what we've got and work on it and listen to staff and teachers and pupils to see actually how grading affects them overall.
Now we get to delve a little deeper and explore the challenges you faced in making the decision to move from head of department to assistant head. So Sam, if you could please share with us what you felt to be your biggest challenge in that decision.
I absolutely love being a teacher, head of department and a tutor. So my challenge was to actually make that next step to senior leadership and know where I've been drawn away. I'd actually not teach as much as what I do currently. I've become more involved in management, or do I stay as a head of department classroom teacher and where I know I am effective and successful? But my greatest fear when I was making that step that I would be away from the classroom. And that the whole interview process, I was absolutely terrified. Actually putting myself in a situation, in an internal position where I always think are a lot harder than external positions.
Why do you think that?
You can't blag it because you're known, really, aren't you? They know you, they know track record, and you're going up against, colleagues that you've worked closely with as well. So it's that competitive environment. So it was a fear of making that step to even apply for the job.
So Sam, if you can tell us what changed, what was the driving factor for you to make that transition?
I'm lucky at the school that I am at. It's an acting position for a 1-year secondment, and also I get to keep my head of department. I know you might all think I'm mad that I'm doing an SLT member's job as well as my HOD job, but actually I feel like I'm lucky, very fortunate. I've got best of both worlds. I'm still working in a team who are amazing practitioners, and I'm also experiencing the world of SLT. So this transition, it was giving me the best of both worlds to make sure I can actually make a decision which way I want to take my career after this year.
That's excellent. Thank you. So what actually was it that changed your mind? What actually encouraged you to go for that position, knowing that you were going up against your colleagues that you work very closely with on a day-to-day basis, and knowing that it was going to be a competitive environment to get that job?
My school is phenomenal at providing CPD. I'm very fortunate that they put me on the NPQSL course, which is the National College for Senior Leadership qualification. This was a great, valuable insight. The course is able to me to talk and actually look at other people's journeys and experience, and also the theory behind SLT and the role of, a successful SLT in a school. Another reason why I changed my mind was that I had a chance of just doing the job for 1 year. It's perfect opportunity for me to carry on with my role, with my successful department, my phenomenal teachers that I work with day to day, and also to take on some whole school initiative.
It sounds like you work with an excellent team, Sam, and have had a great opportunity presented to you. But to me, your career progression has evolved naturally in the sense that you've progressed from a teacher to a head of department. There will be some people out there that will be wondering about how they can make that transition. So what advice would you offer to someone who hasn't been able to follow the traditional career route but wants to become a senior leader in a school?
You need to find out something that you're good at. So if you have a passion for coaching and mentoring, put yourself forward to oversee that initiative within your school. If you have a passion for differentiation, again, put yourself forward. Set up working parties within your school. SLT would love the fact that people are taking an active role in developing new initiatives in their school. Examine your school's strengths and weaknesses, and if there are weaknesses within your strength, you can again put yourself forward on that. You need to carve out a role for yourself where you can make a difference. Approach your head and volunteer yourself to become a lead practitioner in a particular area. You have to make yourself valuable and indispensable. Be positive and let your passion shine.
That's fantastic advice, Sam. You really have to put yourself forward and allow your strengths to be seen. Don't want to be overlooked, or worse still, not recognised for the amazing work that you do in a school. So thank you very much for that. So let's move on to how you resolve some of the challenges you faced in making that career transition.
I drew a lot of inspiration from my new head, who was willing to listen to new ideas, who was someone extremely keen to champion the talent in the school. I felt that I could align my skills and ethos of the school and to actually make a difference. I sought some advice from my line manager, who's an excellent mentor, who I've worked with very closely for the whole 12 years I've been at my school. He took time to listen to my reasons and for wanting to make that transition, but also keen to discuss the fears. And actually, as he was a member of SLT, he was able to give me a complete balanced view about, making that step to SLT. I prepared myself thoroughly in a number of different ways, reflected on the NPQSL course, drew on the lessons learnt and the theory. I sought out advice from friends and weren't afraid to approach every member of the current SLT to make sure I used them as a sounding board to get a better understanding of the needs of senior leadership. I researched the strengths of the current SLT in order to understand the opportunities existed within the team so I could again align my strength. I felt this approach would allow me to stand out from other candidates because I was making sure again I could align myself and my skills within the current team and add value, being that missing link within the chain. Relationships are very important, and if you're an internal applicant, you will have to make that transition into SLT. You need to have relationships with those members of the team and also the members of staff who you'll be working with as well. You need to demonstrate that you can work part as a team in a professional capacity. I prepared, I practiced, I had to do a presentation, which is my Achilles heel. Terrible at presenting, but I had to overcome that fear, and I had to be able to sell myself in an interview. A key piece of advice I would offer to anyone in the position is to draw on your network, whether it's school, in your department, your friends outside the school. Don't be afraid to approach people. Practice, practice, and practice.
Thank you, Sam. It is really tricky when you're in this situation and you are nervous about how you want to go forward in terms of presenting yourself to the people that you already know. So thank you for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it. And you can find Sam's podcast notes to this episode on our resources page at www.inspirationforteachers.com. Now, this is the fun bit of the show. Let's move on to our quick fire inspiration round. Are you ready, Sam?
Yeah.
Share with us the best advice you've ever received.
It's from a child, really. You have to enjoy your teaching, have fun, and remember to keep it pupil focused.
And because I feel that teachers don't sing about their successes enough, I'd like for you to share with us, Sam, your proudest moment.
Well, I've got so many. 100% A to C was an incredibly proud moment. But my proudest moment is when I look at the successes of the students. In particular, getting a letter of thank you from a young lady who joined my tutor group. She didn't have a great opinion of herself, and she didn't have an easy time at school. However, building a relationship, of a positive relationship with this young lady, having her to thank me in a letter for making a difference to her life, was just unbelievable. Proudest moment of my teaching career, definitely.
Thank you, Sam. That's really wonderful. And I don't think we can stress enough how important communication and relationships are with your pupils. Sometimes, like you just said, even the smallest interactions can have a big impact. Now, what are your sources of inspiration?
My network of friends, my husband, my mother, the school, and the students. It's just so important just to see them achieve and getting that eureka moment that that they are going to start to make a difference in the world.
Please, can you share with us a personal teaching or educational habit that you think works for you time and again?
It's time. Build a rapport with your pupils, get them to know them as individuals, and top tip, never ever punish the class as a whole. Class punishments do not work.
Do you have a resource you can share with our listeners, internet or otherwise, that you think would add value to them in their daily practice?
Obviously, Kelly, your podcast will help. But also, it's called 101 Outstanding Teaching Techniques Tips. It's brilliant. This gives you confidence to try different things in the classroom.
If you could recommend one book to provide inspiration for our listeners, what would it be and why?
One of the things as a teacher, you don't know why change happens because you're not involved at that decision making process. So when I was on my NPQSL, we got to read a couple of articles called Managing Complex Educational Change, and it is a brilliant book to see how change is happening and why change has to happen in education.
That sounds really interesting. I'll have to have a read of that one. Thank you, Sam.
Also, read as much as possible around your own subject area, as it will help to keep your ideas fresh. It's like acting as a mini secondment back into your topic or subject that you teach. The news is brilliant for business studies teachers. I get students to listen to the news on the way to school, so it opens up a discussion point. It keeps you fresh and keeps you up to date and relevant. And relevancy, I think, is really important with teaching.
You can find all of these resources on our website, inspirationforteachers.com. And finally, Sam, where can our listeners reach you?
I'm going to do another podcast after my first term as acting assistant head. I can keep you updated with all the new challenges. And if you have any questions, I'd love to be able to answer them for you. Just contact me through this website.
And that is the www.inspirationforteachers.com, or you can email us at inspirationforteachers@gmail.com. Thank you for being a guest on Inspiration for Teachers podcast today, Sam. Good luck with the new job, and we look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today on Inspiration for Teachers. For more resources, tips, and advice, visit our website, inspirationforteachers.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would love to connect with you. Just click like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/inspirationforteachers.